Flaherty.
So my story takes place at PNC Park, home of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yes. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, but I was actually more of a peanuts and hot dog and seventh inning stretch kind of fan as opposed to your typical black and gold Pittsburgh fan. My son, on the other hand, is an avid Cincinnati Reds fan. From his first game at the age of about 2.5, where he met Mr. Redlegs himself in person, he was hooked. And he started watching games on television and asking about rules and players and statistics. And his preschool teachers knew the Reds lineup and all of their stats because he talked about them all of the time. So when his father and I got divorced when he was about 4, traveling from Dayton to Cincinnati to see the Reds play became our thing. We'd make a day out of it. We would arrive when the stadium opened, hours before the game. We would watch the players warming up. We would stay for the game, and then we would stay afterwards until the stadium was almost empty. It was mother and son time, and for years, it was our thing. So when my sister invited us to come visit her in Pittsburgh, I decided that it would be a lot of fun to see the Reds play the Pirates at PNC Park. And since we were traveling so far, I decided to get us good seats. So we had 4 seats, 14 rows from first base. And my son was so excited. And he was wearing his Reds gear, head to toe, Todd Frazier jersey. So that year, 2013, Todd Frazier was the Redheads Kids Club Player of the Year. So he was the sponsor of the Redheads Kids Club, and my son was part of that, and so he got this jersey, and he's wearing it to the game. And as we normally do, we get there really early, and we get to our seats, and we start watching the players warm up. And my sister is in her Pirates gear, and he's in his Reds gear, and we have to see the stadium. We've never been to PNC Park, so we go around the entire stadium. We have to see everything. He's really excited. So by the time we get back to section 109, row N, it's a sea of Pirates fans. And so we go back to our seats, and it's my son and me and my sister and her husband, and between my son and the aisle are 4 empty seats. And right before the game starts, 4 young guys, probably college age, come and fill up those seats, and they are dressed in Reds gear. And so they see my son, and they are like, dude, and they're giving him fist bumps and high fives, and they're all like excited. And my son is even more excited, and he's got his glove because we are in foul ball territory, and he is just on fire. And so the game starts. And quickly, these guys learn that not only is my son pretty cute in his Todd Frazier uniform, but that he actually knows baseball. He knows the players, he knows the stats, he knows the plays, and so they're including him in their conversation and in their high fives, and they're like adopting him as their little mascot. And so one of them asks him who his favorite player is, and as was customary for my son at this time, he answered, me. So not only was my son enjoyed watching the game, he was actually a pretty good player. He was on a select traveling 8U coach pitch team, and he was the starting shortstop. His nickname was Sports Center because he had this way of throwing his body and making these amazing catches. And he actually had made a hard decision about attending this game because his team was in a tournament in Dayton. And so he had agonized over whether or not to go see his Reds in Pittsburgh or to play with his team, and he had talked to his coach about it. And his coach had said, if you come back for the second day of the tournament, you can play. And so the game was Friday night, and we were going to be back in Dayton by Sunday for the second game of the tournament. So we're at this game, we're having a great time, and then it happened. I can still see it in slow motion. A Todd Frazier foul ball headed straight towards my face. Now, if it was a dad, I think I probably would have caught the ball, but I'm not. I'm a mom, and so I panicked. But my 8-year-old son, he was ready. He had his glove out. And at the last minute, one of those college guys palmed the ball. He didn't even drop his beer, which is amazing. He palmed the ball and guided it into my son's glove. And my son held that ball. And those guys are screaming, "Dude, he hit that ball right to you. We are surrounded by Pirates fans. We're the only Reds in the entire section. He hit it to you." And they're screaming. And my son takes that ball and he sits down and he starts crying. And he looks up at me and he says, "Mom, I gotta play. We gotta go home. I gotta play." And I'm thinking, it's dark, it's late. We've taken the subway from my sister's house to get to this game. I'm calculating in my mind, I'm thinking, we wouldn't get back to Dayton until 4 or 5 in the morning. And so I look at him and I said, "Okay." Because what else do you say to an 8-year-old who's just caught a ball from one of his idols who says, "I want to play"? So I said, "Okay." And we stayed till the end of the game, and the Reds lost, and we don't even care. And we stayed and watched the fireworks, and then we got on the subway, and we went back to the car, and we start heading home. It's about midnight. And I figure we'll get back to Dayton with a few hours to spare before he has to be on the diamond at 9 o'clock in the morning. But as fate would have it, there was an accident somewhere between Pittsburgh and Columbus, and we were stuck on the highway for almost 4 hours. Now, that little guy slept through the whole thing. I, however, did not. We got back in town with just enough time for him to throw on his uniform and to get to the tournament, where he brought that ball. And 10 8-year-olds gathered around him as he shared this story, and then he passed around the ball, and every one of them touched it. And they touched the part of the ball where Todd Frazier's bat had hit it. And then they went on the field, and they were on fire. And then somewhere during the day, the coach said to me, "I don't know what you did, but keep doing it." And I am delirious because I haven't had any sleep. And those boys played their hearts out, and they took first place at that tournament. And as I watched them, I realized that baseball is a little bit about the rivalry between the Pirates and the Reds, but it's even more about the camaraderie. It's about those college guys that gave my son the experience of being part of something bigger than himself. It's about that coach who put in the time and the effort with those boys so that they had the skill to win the tournament. And it was about those boys in awe who got on the diamond and played their hearts out. Because they are the dreamers. They are the next generation of this American pastime. And maybe, just maybe, among them is the next Todd Frazier. Thank you.
Bridget Flaherty, ladies and gentlemen.